geez, okay, so I just want to say from my side, the admiration goes both ways. I'm so happy that myself and Risna have actually managed to stay in touch over all these years, even though it's not all the time, but when we reconnect, it's kind of like the same all over again, which is really, really great. So my name is Chantal Dantu. I'm a business owner as well as a coach, and I'm here to talk to you about imposter syndrome. So we are going to be talking about how it is that it not only stops you from reaching your potential, but actually stops you from being able to lead in a way that is authentically you. Right? We are going to be on quite a journey today. We're going to be talking about what imposter syndrome is, how it is that it shows up, why it is that it shows up, and we're even going to be going into how it is that this serves you. Okay. So I really encourage you ladies today to please get involved. I really want you to participate, because when it is that you actually share, you shine a light for somebody that needs it. All right. So let's get into it. So before we actually get into imposter syndrome itself, Risna did talk a little bit about who I am, but I thought I should share my story with you. So because of time, I've only got an hour today. I'm just going to start where my leadership journey started. So I have always worked in male-dominated industries, and in 2012 was the first time that I was actually promoted to a significant leadership position. So I was promoted to a product and procurement manager, and I had 5 small teams under me. So I've always been a high-performing individual, right? I've always made sure that my work is done on time, everything's really efficient, have to make sure that I perform better than other people. So here now I've got this team of people under me, and I think I'm doing the best job, right? We're getting all of our stuff in, and I can't understand why it is that while my team is happy, my superiors are not. And they were like, listen, you can't be that operational. You need to start getting into things strategically. So I was like, geez, okay. I don't really know how to do that, because I was a person that just did the work. I wasn't the person that delegated the work. So they sent me on a course called Managing Managers for Results, and that actually changed my life, but not in the way you might think. So what had to happen when I did that was, we did a 360 analysis. Has anybody had to do that? Right? So you get surveyed by people beneath you, on the same level as you, and people at the top, the people that you report to. Okay. I was analyzed by 20 people, yet I can only remember what 2 people said, my male peers. And they said that I was highly ambitious and willing to stand on people to get to the top. It absolutely broke me, because anybody that knows me knows that isn't how I operate. I was like, how is it with my best intentions I can be putting this all forward in terms of motivating and inspiring people, yet that's what you're seeing? I didn't understand what projection meant, right? So I was just like, yo, that must be what I am putting out there. So out of that whole thing, what it really got me to start doing is to understand what kind of leader I want to be. Who am I trying to model? It was in that time when I really realized I don't want to be like anybody else. I want to bring myself to the table, right? So then what happens? I couldn't afford to study when I left school. So obviously I felt like an imposter already, right? Because now I'm not educated. So I decided I'm going to apply to do my MBA, never thinking I would get in. I got accepted. Great, right? Until I got to class and was like, I do not deserve to be here. For 3 years, guys, I never picked up the mic. If they passed it to me, I got the stress sweats, I just handed it to somebody else. I was like, I cannot add anything of value in this room. When I graduated, I wasn't like, yay, I graduated, I have an MBA. I was like, yay, I did it. I still just felt that it didn't add any value. I was like, I didn't deserve to be there the whole time, right? So then a few years go on, I've now moved on to my own businesses, but I still feel like that imposter. Now I'm like, geez, listen, coaching has been something so important to me. My journey actually started when I was working with Risna. And I was like, I need to further that. And then I was in class again, and what happens? The lecturer comes my way, wants my views, I sign off. I'm like, I'm not speaking. The fear was paralyzing. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I can't. So I go to my coach, and I'm frustrated, because now I'm paying for this course in dollars, okay? It's online. And the thing is, I just can't actually get the value, because of the fact that I can't talk to people. I can't speak to them about my journey, my troubles. It's debilitating. So I'm telling her my story, and she says to me, okay, well, let me ask you one question, and it might seem strange. So I'm like, okay. She said, your mother, when she was in social or professional settings, how did she behave? And then I start describing her, and listen, I love my mom, but she was very isolated. She always felt that people didn't like her, right? She always felt excluded. She felt like she didn't deserve to be there. If people spoke about things when she was in the room that she didn't know about, she felt like she couldn't add value. So then the penny dropped, and I was like, have I not inherited those behaviors, that thought pattern? And I promise you, that realization was so transformative to me that at that moment, I felt like I'd been carrying this heavy bag of emotion that didn't belong to me, and I could put it down. It's one of the quickest transformations I've ever had in my whole life. The following day I'm in class, I can put up my hand. The next week I'm on the phone with my partner negotiating a salary increase. That's how transformative it was for me, because it was the first time that I actually knew my worth. So I'm not saying that our mothers are the whole reason why we have imposter syndrome, guys, but it does play a part in that. And all I can say to you is that our unconscious beliefs, which, by the way, your unconscious, that subconscious, is pretty much fully downloaded by the age of 7 years old. That is where your belief sits, right? And did you know that 95% of the decisions that you make are unconscious? That is what you are being driven by. So when I was in those rooms, who was at the wheel? The 7-year-old, right? So the whole thing is we're going to be talking about that today in terms of the tools and those types of things that we can be using. So you're definitely going to walk out of here with some tools with regards to that. You're going to understand more about imposter syndrome. You're going to understand why it is that you are behaving how you are behaving. And I honestly feel like you're going to be leaving here walking far different than when you walked in. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so before we even move onto imposter syndrome, I want you guys, I don't know if you've got a pen and paper or you've got your phones, I'm just going to put music on for a minute. And I want you to write down what the biggest challenge is that you're having in your business. So the music is just a minute long. As soon as it's finished, we're going to come back to this later. Okay. To that. So I scrounged every single place that I could find to get a definition of what it is that imposter syndrome is, and this is the best one that I could find. So it reads, imposter syndrome is the internal struggle where exceptional achievements and abilities are overshadowed by a relentless fear of being exposed as a fraud. It is the pervasive self-doubt that convinces women that they don't truly deserve their success, despite clear evidence of their talent and efforts. The psychological battle is driven by the belief that their accomplishments are just luck, an anomaly, or a result of deceiving others into believing that they are more capable than they already are. Before we even move forward, who can relate to that? Right? We don't even need to go further. We can all see this in ourselves, correct? So this is the definition of what it is. And the interesting thing is that it's just very much based on our own internal perception. So let's talk about how it is that this shows up. Okay. So first of all, there's the chronic self-doubt. Now note, so this is not a little bit of self-doubt, like a side note self-doubt. This is debilitating self-doubt. So what happens is we have this incessant overthinking. We cannot switch it off. And the whole thing is because of the fact that we don't actually trust ourselves, we feel that we need constant validation from others, right? But here's the thing. We're not confident, so we need the validation. But because we need the validation, we're not confident. So what happens is we are just stuck in this endless loop of self-punishment, right? We can't make decisions. But we don't want to tell people that, because that would mean that it's true, right? So it's just this very personal internal battle. Do you get what I'm saying? Is this making sense? You avoid challenges. So you probably procrastinate dealing with the hard stuff. Those of you who have got people working for you, do you struggle to have those tough decisions? Those tough conversations? Right? This is a big part of that. Am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Okay? You avoid risk. Now, risk can sometimes be bad, but as you know, with being business owners or leaders, you've got to take risk. But how many risks are you not taking because you just feel like you won't pull it off? How many risks are you not taking because you're afraid that you're going to rock the boat in terms of your competitors? Not because there's no opportunity, just because you're too afraid to do it. Make sense? So that is what you're focusing on. You're so busy focusing on the challenge, so busy focusing on the risk and the fact that you can't do it, that you actually can't see a way past that. And all of that really just leads to this extreme anxiety that most likely keeps you up at night. You know, like that 3 o'clock in the morning wake up? Anybody had that? Can't sleep all of a sudden because you sent that email in a way that you don't think you should have? Right? We can all relate to that? Okay. Then the next one. You just can't take credit. Oh, this is a big one. Downplay your achievements. You do a phenomenal project, but then what happens? Instead of celebrating the win, you're like, yeah, but we did all these things wrong. And that's all you can see. You can't even celebrate it. You're so focused on trying to fix things. Make sense? You struggle to accept praise. Guys, I promise you, not too long ago, if somebody came to me and said, listen, your business is doing so well after COVID. Geez, like you survived through COVID. I would actually get irritated. It's like, I can't tell them that. I'm just like, oh, thank you. But inside I'm going, I had nothing to do with it. That had nothing to do with me. It's just my team. Ladies, do you realize what you bring to the table? Would your team be the same if you were not there? Would that energy be the same if you were not there? Yet we downplay it. We can't accept the praise. We overemphasize the mistakes. Who of you here honestly feel guilty that you succeed sometimes? Right? You feel guilty. Oh, I shouldn't have that. I don't deserve that. How did I get so lucky? You know? So the whole thing actually has absolutely nothing to do with us. The success is attributed to others. Everybody else did it, not you. So why are you getting the praise? Make sense? Okay? So we struggle to actually do that, and we downplay. We're like, listen, it's a lot easier than it looks. You know? So that is a really, really big one with regards to that. Okay, next one. Intense fear of failure. Okay. Who here is afraid of failing? How do you think that helps you with your decision-making processes? Okay. So if you're intensely afraid of failing, what are you focusing on? Failing. You're not focusing on succeeding. Okay. So I just want to point that out then. I'm going to tell you why you do that. There's a part of your brain that actually operates that. We're going to get to that a little bit later. So you over-prepare and you over-analyze. Okay? But I'm not saying you just over-analyze your work. What about every conversation you've ever had? Back 25 years. Okay? Every email. Every interaction. Make sense? You are over-preparing not because of the fact that you feel like you don't know what you're doing. You're over-preparing because you're so afraid to under-deliver. But then you put so much anxiety on yourself and so much pressure on yourself that you end up actually not doing the best version of the job. So it's kind of like the self-fulfilling prophecy, you know? Overcompensating. Ladies, can we relate to this one? What happens with regards to boundaries in the workplace, even in the home? Right? So you take on work that you shouldn't. Make sense? You don't want to be the person that doesn't help. You don't want to be the person that brings the team down. You overcompensate. And then procrastination. Right? That's a big one. Does everybody here know that procrastination is actually from anxiety? You're procrastinating really because you're afraid of what will happen if you get it wrong, or actually even if you get it right. Ladies, we're talking about intense fear of failure here, but do you realize that there is also actually an intense fear of success? Have you ever thought about how your life would change if you succeeded? Do you like the kind of people that have succeeded? Think about it. People that you know that are really wealthy. Do you want their life? If you don't want to be that kind of person, what does your belief system say around that? Just saying, something to think about. Okay. Difficulty delegating. How do you think this harms your business? So you do it all yourself because it's got to be done right. It's got to be done perfect. But then actually what you're doing is you're saying to people, your friends, whoever, I just wish my team could be accountable, correct? But are you letting them? No. You are robbing them of being accountable, right? And the whole thing is you've got to understand that when you are bringing an intense fear of failure to the table, what you are doing is you're projecting that onto your team. So the whole thing is whenever there's an external result, there is something internal that's driving that. Make sense? You are bringing that to the table in terms of your team. Then guys, excessive self-reflection. Now listen, self-reflection is amazing when used as a tool for growth. It is not amazing when it's used as a tool for self-punishment. Can we tell the difference? You know, introspection is wonderful if you're wanting to learn from it. But if you are constantly punishing yourself, you're actually just using it as a stick to beat yourself with, not to better yourself with. Make sense? And then there's also this perceived lack of control. How many of us here want to be in control all the time? Okay. Have you ever found that the more you try to control things, the more you don't control them? Right? Control is actually an illusion. Guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about this again because you're actually seeing things through your own lens. It is going to make sense in a little bit's time when we get to that part of the discussion. Okay. This one is my favorite. Oh, the lies we tell ourselves. Okay, so all of you are high-performing individuals, right? Because all of you are in businesses or want to have your own business or are running your teams. Who of you all want things to be perfect?
I'm a Virgo, I am.
Me too. I get it. I get it. Okay. So perfectionism, and I want you guys to write this down if you can. This is very important, okay? It is the greatest form of self-sabotage you will ever experience in your entire life. It stops you from moving forward. So I can just tell you the lies that you tell yourself in terms of I'm not launching that product, marketing my business, starting my own business because I want things to be perfect. Perfect according to what? Okay, let me give you an example so that you can understand what I mean. There are 3 colors, red, yellow, and blue. Who likes red the most? Put your hands up. Okay. Who likes yellow the most? Who likes blue the most? Okay, so even in this room, we can't agree on 3 colors. Okay? So now you want everything to be perfect. According to what? Everybody's version of perfect is different. And then the thing is, when we are stuck in this thing of perfectionism, we don't have a list of what would make it perfect. It's just kind of like this list that's not articulated. So listen, there is a difference between wanting quality versus perfection. Wanting to do things in a quality way is like putting a list down. Okay, this is what makes it great. We've got to do all these things to make it great. That's great. In your businesses, in your life, these are the standards that I need to meet. Perfectionism, though, have you noticed? We don't put a standard to it. The standard is however we feel on the day. You see the problem here? Okay. Then now the issue is we set these unrealistic standards that we can't meet, and neither can our teams. What do you think that does to employee motivation? Think about it. What do you think it does to your motivation? Now the thing is, you need to be perfect too. Guys, listen, I can relate to this. I used to be so bad on perfectionism. Do you know when I got sick, I would get angry with myself. I'm like, how dare I get sick? Then I'm not holding up this image of being this perfect, like whatever. Honestly, right? It's ridiculous, okay? So also when you're stuck in that place, you can't ask for help because that would mean that you're not perfect, correct? So you can't ask for help. I mean, guys, talking about those classes, do you know what my biggest fear was? That they would know that I'm incompetent. Because when they came to ask me if I understand, I was like, listen, I don't know what I know, or I don't know what I'm supposed to know, but I'm here to learn it, but I should know that already. You get what I'm saying? So I don't know what they're teaching me, but I mean, how could I expect that? I haven't learned it yet. Yet that was an expectation. Make sense? Okay. You don't like feedback because you're afraid that it's going to shatter that perfection that you feel you need to hold. So can you see how that hurts? You can't even take constructive feedback. And even when they're talking to you, you're not listening. All you're doing is kind of like comparing notes, right? Overcompensating and overworking. We can all understand what that looks like. Intense self-criticism. This is not just like, oh, I should do better. You all know what I'm talking about here. Intense, right? Difficulty delegating or trusting. Can you guys relate to this? So the thing is, who here in terms of your businesses, those of you who've got, would love to sell them one day for like lots of money, right? You want a business that you want to sell. If you don't delegate work to other people, you're going to work there until you die, okay? So you can't succession plan, all right? And then comparison to others. This is a big one. We all do it. But when last did you compare yourself to somebody else and actually felt good about it? When last? I don't feel good about it when I compare myself, guys. I must be honest. I don't look at it and go, geez, I'm so much better at almost being that person. No. But yet we do it because there's this perfection of what we should look like. So even in terms of that, we're hurting ourselves. And then feeling pressure to lead inauthentically. If you are a perfectionist, I'm telling you now, there is no way that you are not doing this. If you're in a male-dominated industry, leading as a woman that is fair and kind and nurturing, do you think that flies? Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have people that you should want to model, people that you want to learn from, aspire to be. That is different. But chances are, in your business, what you are doing is you are modeling what currently works. And isn't that exhausting? It's exhausting. I did it, guys. But let me tell you, it is possible. I have a business in a male-dominated space, in competition to the company that I used to work for. I lead that business with nothing but kindness, nurturing. That is what I do. I'm fair, I'm consistent. I never raise my voice. I never even actually really need to talk to them about things. Because the point is, we have developed such a relationship that we can actually just talk about things. Does it make sense? You can lead authentically. You can. The question is, are you brave enough to do it? Because it's outside of the lines. For me, even when I started this journey in terms of what it means to lead authentically, I was constantly finding the struggle in that place of what is the kind of leader I want to be versus who I'm expected to be. So these are just questions that we start asking ourselves. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about the feelings around imposter syndrome, but I just thought that it's important for us to actually lay them out here. And this is a really important exercise, guys, if you can get involved with regards to this, because the biggest thing with imposter syndrome is we feel we ourselves are the only people that feel it, correct? We're alone. So if you have felt inadequate, raise your hand. Look around, ladies. If you have felt incompetent, raise your hand.
Can I keep my hand up?
Yes, you can. Do it. Inferior, unworthy, overwhelmed, powerless, insecure, anxious, isolated, judged, shame, disappointment. Okay? So we've all felt this, yet we feel that we're doing alone. And I'm here to tell you that you are not broken, things can change, and you are not alone. Can you see that today? If you leave here with anything, it is that every single woman in this room is struggling just the way you are. And isn't that beautiful? Because now you can talk to somebody about it. Like I say, if you take anything, that is what you're going to take with you. Okay, so we are going to now, it's not going to make sense now, right? But if you can just trust me on this little journey, we're going to do an emotional check-in. I'm going to put music on again for a minute. And I want you to notice, because I'm sure a lot of feelings are being brought up right now in terms of what it is that you're going through. I want you to notice what you are feeling in your body. You're not going to tell anyone, it's just for you. Where are you feeling that? How intense is it? And what are the emotions? Okay, so just for a minute, and I just want you to write that down because I want you guys to connect to it, okay? Okay, wonderful. Guys, was that interesting, or ladies, was that interesting in terms of what you found? Is anybody willing to share? You don't have to. But what are we dealing with here? Yes?
Both of them or just the last question?
Well, both of them, if you'd like to share.
So mine is, the first one is what I'm scared of, is that the public perceives me as a luxury of my business and not a necessity.
Uh-huh.
And then you're anxious. I feel it in my stomach and in my breathing. I'm like,
Yeah?
that's because I've got a speaker.
Yeah, that too, that's okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Does anybody else have that same kind of feeling? You can relate to what she's saying? Is there a little bit of anger almost sometimes, ladies, in terms of how it is that we're starting to realize what imposter syndrome has put us through sort of unnecessarily? Okay? We're going to come back to that challenge later on. Okay, I'd love to help you with that. Okay, cool. So these are actual studies, guys. I'm not making these stats up. So I just want you to know that there are actual academic studies around this. 72% of women have experienced imposter syndrome, higher than roughly 63% of men. So men actually do experience this, believe it or not. Okay. 60 to 70% of women in particular studies admitted to avoiding leadership roles or passing up promotion for fear of being exposed as inadequate. That's a really big number. Guys, it's more than half, right? 58% of women feel that imposter syndrome negatively impacts their productivity, job satisfaction, and contributes to feelings of stress, anxiety, and burnout. Now, this is not just to people who work in businesses. Business owners, you see I'm talking to you too. Because the thing is, just because you have a business doesn't mean you enjoy working there. Make sense? So this applies to you as well in terms of having your own business. And then 62% of women feel that due to imposter syndrome, they feel less confident than their peers, regardless of their actual performance. Now, guys, what's interesting here is regardless, okay? So the evidence does not matter, which leads me to the next saying. Have you guys ever heard this? If you think you are right, you are right. If you think you are wrong, you are right. Okay? Because evidence doesn't matter when it's what you believe. Make sense? When you believe that you are those things, when you believe you're unworthy, when you believe you're not doing a good job, you are those things. You are right because you believe it. Nobody can tell you different. Has anybody ever tried to convince you of your worth? We all do it as women to our friends. You know, even a woman, your friend tells you, you look so beautiful in that dress, and you're like, whatever, never wearing it, right? Can relate? Same thing. Okay, so if you think you're right, you're right. If you think you are wrong, you're right. Okay. So the real problem, ladies, and it is not what you think. Okay, so imposter syndrome is not the problem. Having it is not the problem. The real problem is we don't want to talk about it. Because why? That means it's true. Yet we keep it to us, so we keep it to ourselves. We don't want people to think that we are actually the things that we think of ourselves. Why? Because we are worried that we're going to be seen as weak. We are afraid of repercussions. There's this pressure to conform. Ladies that work in big businesses, how do you feel that? There is this pressure to like color between the lines, right? We also deny it. We don't want it to be true. I want you to understand this. Okay, when you are feeling that deep sense of suffering, you know that internal suffering, you all know what I'm talking about? I want you to understand this today. That is never about the thing that is happening. It is about the fact that you wish it could be different. So what you are doing is you are actually living in a future where this is not it. That is why they're suffering. The first place for you to actually move past this, and we're going to go through that today, is first of all just to accept 100% where you are at. You are living in the future that doesn't exist. Your mind can't even grasp that. There is nothing to ground it to. Does that make sense? You are wasting your life not being in the present. You are doing yourself a disservice. That is where the suffering comes from. It's not from this. It's from what you wish it could be. And there is the gap between the two. Make sense? Okay. And then there's this need to be in control. Oh, for all of us. Yet we are so not in control. And the more we hold, the worse it gets. Okay, so this is the real problem. Because if we had to talk about it, that would mean it's true. But the only way that we can really get through it, ladies, is if we are willing to speak about it. Make sense? Are you already feeling better about the fact that you are not alone? Right? Okay. Okay, so now here's the why it shows up. It starts to make sense. Okay, so this goes down to even our evolutionary journey. We are hardwired for negativity. So here's where it starts. Before man, became sort of really like thinking beings, or going back to like caveman days or whatever, they really had to, kind of like make sure that they did not die. So this thing is built in your DNA in terms of avoiding death and negativity. That is where the ego mind first came from. You had to be able to, sense if there was a looming predator, right? You had to be able to keep yourself safe. So this is actually built into our evolutionary DNA. That negativity actually acts, those thoughts of negativity, those feelings of stress, that is actually, I'm sure you've heard of fight or flight, comes from that, so that you actually stay safe. It is a defensive mechanism. Then there's something called negativity bias. So this is really interesting. What it basically says is, if you have a positive experience and a negative one of the same intensity, your brain actually holds on to the negative one more. okay? And it actually stores it in a way that it's accessed far easier. And it actually makes it more intense. And our brains actually process negative memories and emotions far more thoroughly, right? So we are actually hardwired for negativity. That's why when I do the coaching, a lot of what I'll do is when I talk to people is, okay, so start with what you don't want because that's so easy. Sometimes it's really hard to get to the place of what you do want. Make sense? We are actually really hardwired for it. And that's actually why it's so difficult for us to get out of that dark space. Make sense? Because we can access that so easily within us. Then there is what you focus on, you find. So there's actually a part of your brain called the active reticulating system. I hope I said that correctly. And it's the part of your brain that allows you to focus on one thing, but have the rest of the stuff kind of like in the periphery. Make sense? So to give you an example, if I had to ask most of you today, how many green cars did you see? You probably don't know. But now watch when you drive home, you're going to see nothing but green cars, correct? Okay. That's because you have given your brain the instruction to find it, okay? Now here's the thing. This is your brain. It is how it works. It is science. If you focus on negativity, guess what you'll get, right? If you focus on the fact that you can't do things, what is going to be mirrored back at you? All of that. What you focus on, you will find it. Let me be clear. Okay, our brains are hardwired for that. Then there is all of your unconscious conditioning. So this is how you were raised, what your mom was like, what your dad was like. What environment did you grow up in? What are your beliefs around abundance? What are your beliefs around anything really? And again, this really happens by the age of 7. And that is actually what follows us, guys. And if we don't challenge that, right, you will only be able to perform really to what your belief system will allow, okay? Sometimes what will happen is you manage to go past that, right? But then what often happens is if you don't deal with that, you end up losing it all. Have you known people like that? They hit it big, and then 6 months later they've got nothing. People that have won the lotto, how many of them get to keep the money, right? They just spend it, they blow it. Their belief system doesn't allow them to actually deal with that, all right? And then you've got your ego mind, which is this protective mechanism. Okay, so here's the thing. That voice that you hear in your head, okay, that is telling you you can't do things, you shouldn't do things, and all of that. Do you realize that that is actually a biological function? 100%, okay? Built into our evolutionary DNA. You don't have to buy into what it says, right? It is just a defensive mechanism. Now the thing is, it wants to keep you safe. So it is going to tell you, don't market, because that would mean putting yourself out there, making yourself vulnerable, right? It is going to say to you, don't attend that event. No, don't go to that interview. No. So it just wants to keep you in a place that is safe. So for the ego mind, safe means comfortable. Safe means where I am right now. Even if it is in a bad relationship, right? Even if it is in a terrible job. How many people stay in jobs they hate for years? Why? Oh, rather the devil you know. Interesting, okay? I say no. No more of that, okay? So that is your ego mind that is actually doing that, okay? So here's the thing. All of these fears then come up. Can we all relate to this again? Fear of failure, even accountability. We don't want to admit this, but if we're accountable, that means that we're responsible, right? Okay. Fear of rejection, isolation, underperformance, judgment, loss of credibility, being arrogant. Ladies, this is a big one, right? You're afraid to be seen as arrogant. That is one of the biggest things that are holding you back. I'm telling you right now, okay? It is nonsense. Fear of making mistakes, incompetence, authenticity. That's a big one. We don't want to show ourselves, right? For fear of rejection, okay. Pressure to conform, fear of being dismissed, fear of success, fear of being exposed. Here's the thing though, what you tend to fear, you end up creating. So this is the easiest thing, and listen, I love moms, okay, sorry, so this is just an example. How many in here with love to our moms are like, I never want to be like my mother? Have we kind of like said those things? I know, right? But then how many times has somebody said to you, you're so like your mother, and you get so angry, right? Right? Because what's happening is you're so afraid to be like her, then you try and control it, and the more you control it, the more you're actually turning into your mother, whether you believe it or not. Okay, so just an example, that which you fear, you create. Okay, so So what is the actual issue then? And it's going to surprise you. That voice in your head, and can we all agree that there is more than one? Does it make sense? You've got the one that kind of talks to you all the time, but what's interesting about that is that it says things to you like, you are not good enough. It's not saying we are not good enough or I am not good enough. It's actually talking to you and you think it's you. Okay, right? So you identify with it and make it who you are. So the voice says, you suck. And you're like, yes, I do. So you suck here and then you get an emotion and then you feed it. Now here's the thing, what do you then do? You don't want it, so what do? Try and push it away. But here's the thing, ladies, I need you to understand, when you push anything away, that becomes the foundation from which you act and behave. You're actually pushing more energy into it to just like continuously have that cycle going. That feeling that you are getting, that thought that you're getting is nothing more than information about what is stored in the psyche. So let me explain it to you this way. Okay, you've got this friend, and this friend of yours lives in a basement, but it's beautiful down there. I mean, it's so luxurious, she never wants to leave. There's no windows, but here's the thing, she wants to experience life. So you give her a set of VR goggles, you know, virtual reality goggles, and she experiences your life through you. So she sees what you see, she experiences what you experience, but has no other point of reference, okay? Now, your unconscious is all the stuff that's stored in that basement. It's everything that you have been through in your life. Make sense? Now what happens is, when you experience something, that basement is actually your database. And your friend there goes through that and is like, oh, this is what's happening, types it in, and it spits out an emotion and sends it to you. And a thought, and it sends it to you. Now here's the thing, it's just information, but you don't know that. You're like, oh, it must be true. It's not true. It is automatic, autonomous responses as experienced by the psyche. It is not something that you can control. You cannot control your emotions. You cannot control your thoughts. When you start to realize that they are not you, they are just a part of you, it made things much easier. Your life really starts to change. So I think I'm skipping a little bit, but I'm going to get into this now. Did somebody in this room maybe get hurt? Like you've cut your arm, or you've broken a bone, or like whatever. You've had intense pain in your life. Okay, so let's say for instance you cut yourself, like really badly. Okay, so now that cut is a defense mechanism of your body, and it is sending signals to the brain that you are hurt. Defense mechanism, right? At the time, when you hurt yourself, were you screaming, I am the pain, I am the pain? Or was the pain just a part of you? Just a part of you. Guys, your thoughts and your feelings are the same thing. They are a part of you, but they are not you. Does that give you the differentiation? Yet we make it who we are. It is not who we are. It is just information. So what happens is somebody annoys you. That is information, right? And here's the thing. You know, like people say, when somebody irritates you, it's because you are like them. That's not it. It's when people annoy you, that quality that they bring up, you're afraid to be like that, so you repress it. Make sense? So that's why it comes up. And it is just information in terms of what you actually need to be working on. Okay. Cool. Interesting, right? Okay, so here's the cost of the imposter syndrome. And honestly, it may be way too high a price to be paying. So, how many of us waste time? Right? Employee morale goes down because you're constantly trying to micromanage the situation all the time. You're bringing all your stuff to your business because, guys, here's the thing. You think things are separate. They are not. They are not. You are you. Right? You are you. But here's the thing. Just a little side note. Everybody is so attached to who they are. It's actually nonsense. You can be whoever you need to be in the moment. Our issue is the attachment to it. So everyone's like, I am this person all the time. No, you are not. Are you the same person with your children and your employees? No. Right? You are different. So that already just gives you an indication that you can step into whatever it is that you need to in the moment. Job satisfaction goes down the toilet, right? Succession planning, you can't do it because you don't trust anybody to do the work. Profits go down. Ladies, there is no way that your business is not suffering from imposter syndrome, right? Because if you are afraid to put yourself out there, you are not marketing the way you should, okay? Your turnover is going down. Employee engagement goes down. Your employees don't want to stay with you anymore. Your culture is in the tubes. Why? Because you are being the kind of leader that you think you should be. And it's too hard for you to pretend to be somebody that you're not. Turnover, business growth, happiness. But probably the biggest for me is inner peace. That is what you are giving up. Is that a price you are willing to pay? That's the question, because this is what it's costing. Okay, so the whole thing is that we need to deal with it, and we are actually going to be going through 3 ways to do that. Okay, so you're going to leave here with some tools. One is kind of like a very quick fix. One is like a little bit sort of, I don't know, medium term, depending on how you deal with it. And then there's one that can help you forever, but takes a little bit longer. Okay, so, alrighty. Okay, so the very first thing that we are going to do, ladies, now, I'm going to play a song for you. It is just 3 minutes long, but I want you to all stand up. I want you to just go into yourselves and just allow yourself to feel the freedom of being you. Is that okay? So the first place, the first way that you can actually help yourself is to get out of that emotional state that you're in. It's about changing your state. This is something that I learned from watching Tony Robbins. When you change your state, you change your story. Right? Has anybody experienced how music has the power to change how you are feeling? Okay, so we are going to dabble in that now. All right. Nobody's watching, nobody cares, right? This is just about actually embracing the fact that that feeling can make you feel different. So, does anybody feel a little bit better? You're feeling more energized? When you change your state, you change your story. So you're not listening to that internal narrative anymore. So pick that song that makes you feel good and play that. There are other ways that you can actually also change your state, right? Music is one of them. Then there's meditation, prayer, visualizations. We're going to be doing one a little bit later on. The ability to be present, guys, is probably the best way, okay? Do you realize that you can actually switch that voice in your head off? Can I teach you how quickly? Okay, so do me a favor. I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to close your eyes. Just trust me. Take another deep breath. Feel yourself sitting in your chair. And on the next breath, I want you to allow yourself to connect to your inner body, your core. And then I want you to allow that feeling to grow in intensity and really connect to your inner body. And I'm going to keep quiet for the next 30 seconds. I just want you to do that. If your mind drifts off, that's okay. Just bring it back to your core. Okay? Next 30 seconds. Take a deep breath and you can come back. How was that for you, ladies? What did you experience there? Was it peaceful? Daar was niks. Do you know why? Because the person in the basement can't talk when you're being present. It chops off the signal. It's wonderful. Right? So whenever it is that you are feeling absolutely overwhelmed, I learned this from Eckhart Tolle, believe it or not. It has absolutely changed my life. When your mind is going crazy, bring yourself into the present, connect with your inner body. It switches it off. When I learned this, I was like, what sorcery is this? I actually couldn't believe how powerful it was. But you can actually switch it off, yes? Still couldn't silence, that's okay. Sometimes we struggle to connect with it, we just got to work on it. So there's a visualization that I'm going to do at the end for you that could maybe help you. I've got another one that could also possibly help you. Okay. Sometimes it just takes a bit of work because we might feel very disconnected from ourselves. That might be what's at the bottom of it. But that's okay. You can work on it. Okay. Exercise, breath work is really great. Okay, for those of you who have tried it. Getting creative. Doing something that you love to do that also stops you from being stuck in that incessant thinking. And guys, with regards to being present, how many of you do something that allows you just to take your mind off everything? Right? You do those things. That's actually just being present. You've been doing it by accident. Now, the beautiful thing is when you bring yourself back into a state of presence, you're not living in the future. You're living in the present. You're not living in the past. You're living in the present. Make sense? That's why it's so peaceful, okay? Then changing your environment, so connecting with nature, going for a walk, leaving your desk, doing a walkabout. That really goes a long way. And then ladies also, consider what you are consuming. What you consume is not just what you eat. What else is it? the information that you allow in, the things that you listen to, and the people that you surround yourself with. Okay? That person in the basement, all she's doing is she's just taking it all in. If you want the signals from that part of your brain to change, you have got to change what you are feeding it. Make sense? This is really important. Guys, I'm not saying don't watch the news. I'm just saying, if you're doing nothing but watch news, are you very negative? Yes. Why? Because you're just watching the news all the time. It becomes a reality. Again, you are focusing on it. That is what you are finding. Make sense? It is important to watch what you read, what you watch, what kind of people you surround yourself with. It really does impact your quality of life. Okay. Now the next one. Challenge your beliefs, okay? Because you can change them. Sometimes it can take a little bit of time to fix. But the point is, if it is that you don't change those beliefs, like I said earlier, you are actually going to only be able to get to that place in your life and not further than that. This is another thing that I learned from listening to something from Tony Robbins. It was just really relevant to some of our stuff today. So what we are going to do is we are going to identify the belief, reframe it, and then repeat it to ourselves. So I'm going to share some from my personal life. The first one that my parents used to say, and this is where we get it from, what our beliefs are. What do my parents say? What do I find myself saying to people that I care about success, about all those kinds of things? Okay. So who other than me heard money doesn't grow on trees? Okay. But what do you think that belief says around how I can have abundance? What does that belief say around what kind of wealth I can attract for myself? Okay. So now we're going to reframe it. So I'm saying, yeah, money doesn't grow on trees unless you got money seeds. I got all of them. Okay? So I'm changing that. The next one is, you can't live on hopes and dreams. Guys, I used to say this all the time. But doesn't that talk to how is it that I can expect to be supported in living my dreams, which is doing these types of things, if I don't believe it can support me? Right? So I changed it. You can't live on hopes and dreams unless you know what they are and actively move towards reaching them. A little bit different, correct? And then the last one is, I'll have it when my ship comes in. Oh, my parents used to say that all the time. But here's the thing, that means I don't even have control. Like, I don't believe I have it in terms of my success, correct? So the whole thing is, I then change this. I'm like, I'll have it when my ship comes in. Luckily, it's docking next week. So it's just around, like, changing those beliefs. So what I want you guys to do is, you're going to identify them, reframe them, try and even use a bit of humor, and then you're going to put it up everywhere. And you are going to repeat it to yourself. Humor is a great way to break an anchor. Make sense? Is that something you guys are willing to try at home? Okay, great tool. Righty. Then the last one, and this is mine, and this is very much based on needing to do a little bit of the longer term work. Okay, and it's very much based on the Jungian work, which is the type of coaching that I do. And I mean, there's a lot of ways that this has been used, but I changed it a little bit. It's the transformation that you're looking for is in the emotion that you're avoiding. This is the truth. You can change things short term in your life, guys, but until you deal with that emotional anchor, it is going nowhere. Does anybody disagree with that? So I'm going to give you a model today to help you with that. So it's called allow, okay? So the A means acknowledge and accept. So it doesn't matter what the feeling is. It doesn't matter what the thought is. In that moment is for you to acknowledge it and accept it just as it is, right? Because here's the thing, it is not a problem until you realize it's a problem. Makes sense? Even people that have got substance abuse issues, it's not a problem until they realize it's a problem, okay? So just accept that the thought showed up. Just accept that you feel that way. Again, the suffering is not caused by the way it is, it's by you wishing you didn't have it. Make sense? Okay. Then we've got the first L, which is let it be. Don't try and shift it, change it, fix it. Just let it be there. Let it exist in you, okay? With you bringing presence into it, you probably would have quietened your mind a little bit. Just let it be there. Don't try and do anything with it. Then the next thing is to listen. What kind of thoughts are coming? Not from a point of anger from you, from a point of curiosity. Kind of in the sense of listening to that friend in the basement say their piece. It's not you, it is just a part of you, right? So just let it be there. Don't try and go anywhere and then listen to what's coming because, again, it is just information, okay? Then observe and orient. So this is about observing the emotions that show up. Where do they show up? Ladies, when I work with people, when it is that they are frustrated that they can't be who they want to be type of thing, it sits in their throat. They can't voice their opinions. When it is that they feel that they are not good enough, all of that sits in their heart space, honestly, right? Where is it showing up in your body? And then what I want you to do is you're going to orient all of your energy, absolutely all of it, to that emotion. And you're just going to do that as long as you can. And what will happen is it may intensify, and then it will probably subside. And then you can carry on with your day. And then you're probably going to have to go through this later. But trust me, this works. I've used it many times. So you observe the emotion and you orient it. And then the last part of the cycle is why and what. So instead of being upset about this, go, why is this showing up for me? Why am I so attached to that? Why do I wish things were different? Why does this bother me? What is it about this that is so difficult for me to accept? Can you see those kinds of questions are more around compassion instead of anger, trying to get to the root of what it is that's causing this? Is that okay? So it's about allowing yourself, ladies, and listen, we need to give ourselves a sense of permission to feel what we feel. When you go through this process, you are not then tied into it, you're observing it, you're standing back. This is where you take control back. Because here's the thing, until you start bringing this stuff into the conscious space, your unconscious is driving it. How many times have you reacted in a way where you're like, why did I do that? Right? You're upset with yourself because you're acting from a place of emotion, an unconscious reaction. When you allow yourself to go through this, acknowledge and accept that it's here. Let it be. Listen, observe, and why. You take a breath and then react. That is control. That is where the power comes in. Okay. A little bit different, ladies. How are you feeling about this? Is this helpful? Okay, wonderful. Okay. So now I want you to tell me how it is that imposter syndrome has actually been serving you. Because it is doing something for you, ladies. And let me give you the first example. It is keeping you small. And if it is keeping you small, what is that doing? It is keeping you safe, right? So it is making sure that you are exactly where you are right now and no further. So it is doing something for you. It's trying to protect you. What else is it doing for you? How is it serving you? Anybody? Ladies, it's giving you information in terms of what's stored in your basement, the stuff that you should be working on, how it is that you really feel about yourself. But the biggest thing in terms of what it's doing is it's just holding you back. So how is it limiting you? Maybe that's an easier question to ask. How is it limiting you? Anyone? Well, it's stopping you from moving forward, correct? Right? It derails you because you get a little bit further and then what does it do? Pulls you right back, right? So can you see in terms of your life and your business how this is impacting you? Right? Makes sense? Okay, so for the last little piece, what I'm going to do now is I just want to play a visualization for you. And I would really like, it's just 5 minutes, for you all to take a breath. I recorded it just for you. And I just want you to allow yourself to connect with it. Sometimes I do struggle with visualization too. But my whole thing is I just kind of like trust that it's doing the work. Okay, is that okay? So just kind of like finishing it off. After that, we're going to go into some Q&A, and then I will be handing the mic back. Okay, great. Alrighty, ladies. How was that for you? Did it feel good? What did the future look like? Is anybody willing to share? I hope it's looking a lot brighter, with a lot of things in terms of what it is that you could accomplish, right? Did anybody see anything significant? What did you see? Are you willing to share with us?
Yeah. The future is so bright.
I love that.
I'm working on a few things that I think I've been kind of scared to actually execute. And when she said 12 months, I didn't even close my eyes, I could feel it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I do a lot of meditation sometimes, so I think I kind of got used to it.
Yeah.
But guys, I want you to check me after 12 months.
I love it. I love that. Here's the thing, ladies. You can do whatever it is that you want to. You can achieve whatever it is that you want to. There is nothing holding you back except you. So there's a lot of stuff in the unconscious you need to deal with. We've got work to do. But the point is that which you want, you can get it. You can have it. It's about also you giving yourself a sense of permission to succeed. Make sense? Do we give ourselves a sense of permission to be who we really are? Or do we feel that we have to fight for that? You don't need to. You just need to want it and accept it. Make sense? Okay. So now, very quickly, those challenges that you had in the beginning, are you feeling the same way about them? We feeling a little bit different? Better? Like you can conquer it? Wonderful. I love that. Okay. So, I don't know if there's any questions. I know that I've bombarded you with a lot of information today. Would anybody like to ask any questions or bring anything up? You don't have to. That's okay too. Yes? Yeah?
I'm struggling with, I don't know if it's authentication or what.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I have a problem with emotional intelligence, if I can put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I want to fight almost every battle.
Yeah?
And I think it is because of my past, my previous experiences. So I struggle with employees.
Yes.
I find that my work environment is not as pleasant as I would want it to be.
Yeah?
Because I almost feel like the moment I walk in, it's like the devil is here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everyone is on their toes, but I've then decided to hire a manager that can kind of help me to take care of whatever that needs to happen. But I still feel like I'm not there.
Yeah.
I feel like I should rather stay away. So my employment has become unpleasant to me.
Yeah.
So I avoid going to my own business because I want her to take care of everything. Because when I come,
Yeah.
I won't be calm when I find that people have made stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
If I can put it like that.
Right.
Mistakes that are costing me thousands of rands
Yeah.
sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel they are just those mistakes that shouldn't be made at
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So it's that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in there, so I'm just going to kind of like lean into one. That's okay. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I can relate to that as a business owner. Okay. So the first thing is in terms of kind of like needing to win that battle and like fight every battle and kind of like be in every battle. My question to you is, why do you feel that you always need to be right? What is it defending inside you?
Because I sometimes feel that I am right in that moment.
Yeah?
You understand? Like, I'm mentioning things like, you know, I always say, common sense isn't always common.
I say that a lot to myself too.
Like, it's common sense.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So, but why is it so important for you that, because here's the thing, you can choose two things with that. You can choose to take a breath or you can choose to take the fight. Why is it so important to you that you get seen as the person who is right? That is where your work is. Make sense? Why is it so important for people to validate that you are right in that situation? Why do you need that?
I'm not sure.
You see?
Maybe it is because of I want people to do what I want. I'm talking about my
It's okay.
employees.
Yeah.
Because remember, I'm the brain. I know how I want the business to be like.
Yes.
So I feel like if they can do what I say,
Yes.
because most of the time when they do what I say, we actually get the result.
Yeah. The problem is though that we're dealing with people and they also like, if she would just listen to what I said, it would be better. So,
Why I remove myself.
yeah, but the thing is, how are you doing your business a disservice? So rather than that, because here's the thing, that is always going to come up. And here, your employees, trust me, are holding up a mirror, okay, to your things about yourself that you don't like or that you're afraid to be. Does it make sense? Like just an example with what you were saying, with regards to you're worrying that your stuff, they're going to say it's a necessity, etc., etc. Here's the thing. When you think those things are, a luxury, those are your fears. It's not their fears, you're just projecting. Does that make sense? So when you walk in there, you're immediately like, they're going to get upset, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. So what happens? Exactly that. So when you start to work on yourself, because here's the thing, you can win an argument by not saying a damn word. Make sense? Silence is actually probably one of the best ways to win an argument. Yet if you feel that you need to be right all the time, and that's what I'm saying, you've got to work on that. Because why is it so important to you? What if it was neither good or bad to be right or wrong? Because everybody's right in their own eyes. Make sense? Okay? So, I mean, it's difficult to work on it specifically, but do you see what I mean in terms of where I'm going with this? Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else?
Can I just say that was me 20 years ago?
Yeah.
I can guarantee your team feels exactly the way you
Yeah.
mirror each other.
They're mirroring it. Yes.
Empowerment. So I think admission is the first step. Trust me.
Yeah. So it's like, kind of like, what are we bringing to the table? Because they are mirroring it back, and what you are feeling, they are feeling. Exactly. You are projecting on each other all the time. So first, break the chain. So maybe have that tough conversation about, this is how I feel when I'm around you. How do you feel? That's how we start to lead as women. Make sense? Thank you very much. That's so helpful. Anybody else? No? Yeah?
My name is Business. Usually it's here and graduated. I usually host a lot of women empowerment, and usually when you're in that stage, you should always show the results that you're talking about. But most of the time, it's not easy. Like I would get people say, "Wow, you're so great," but I don't feel that great.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of my circumstances. Because social media actually views things as better, as great. When you meet your family, it's like, "You're doing great. I can see that." But then when you look at your personal life and everything that's not working out, you're like, how can I be this person out there to other people when I know that personally I'm actually not doing great? And it's that thing that people expect to see what they see on social media when they meet with you.
Yeah.
So now they put the two together and they're like,
Yeah.
this is so great on social media, but when I meet her face to face, so
Yeah.
it's that fear of putting yourself as great as the way they see you on socials when you meet with them face to face. It's that fear of also networking.
Yeah.
I can come here and like, want to talk, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But when I get here, I see people who are doing better than me, people who are more educated than me. I'm like, oh my God, it's that. So it's fear for me.
Yeah.
I was actually telling one of the ladies that was coming here, I don't know if it's a lady, she's my mentor when we came here. I'm like,
Yeah.
I fear driving. I know how to drive,
Yeah.
but I fear having to get in the car. As I'm driving, I'm going to a far place, and I'm scared I'm like just bumping into someone or someone bumping into me.
Yes.
So this fear is always reigning in me, and it's taking over because I now put myself in this closet that I
Yeah.
can't do it.
So, I mean, here's the first thing. Did you not recognize the imposter in you? Because everybody else sees you as great and you don't see it in yourself. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be there. Make sense? What if also, instead of worrying about what anybody else was thinking, instead of worrying about if they see me that way, etc., making this about higher meaning and purpose, and being like, listen, like when I came here today, do you know what my thing was? If one woman walks out of here different, I've succeeded. What if that's what you made it about, not about other people? What if your message was about, I want to empower women? And you know what? Our success and our greatness comes from our ability to be vulnerable. Okay, that is what makes us powerful. That is. So who cares if they see you vulnerable? Who cares if they see you exactly as you are? Remember, if you are putting yourself out there as you, what are you defending? Nothing. Make sense? So don't worry about what they're doing. Can you make it about higher purpose and meaning? What do I do through this? Because people are going to judge you guys. They're going to judge you whether you like it or not. Either way. You might as well just do what you want because you're going to please one person and not please the other. You might as well just make it about you. And think about what I said around that voice in your head. Because here's the thing, you're so afraid that they will say this. You're so afraid that they will say that. But actually, those are your fears, not theirs. You're projecting. Until somebody tells you something, you are projecting. Make sense? Is that helpful? Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies.